Frankie from Flatbush rides the Brooklyn line. Got a swagger sharp like a vintage wine. Everybody knows his name from porch to stoop. Hustling dreams in every loop. In the park he struts, hits the handball wall. Echoes hear the stories when the shadows fall. Got 1,000 tales and a comforting grin. On the streets of Flatbush where legends begin. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near. He's got the rhythm, everybody cheers. Corner talks and sidewalk chalks his fame. In the Flatbush breeze you'll hear his name. Underneath the subway hum, the magic's real. Frankie's moves got that electric feel. From Atlantic Avenue to the urban hill, Flatbush Frankie's giving you a thrill. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Bodega lights flicker when Frankie's near, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Frankie from Flatbush got the city glow, lighting up the borough with his every show. He's the heart of Brooklyn, never laying low. Frankie from Flatbush, always on the go. Always on the go. Always on the go. Always on the go.
All right, testing, testing. Can you hear me? Testing, testing, testing. Todd is here. Howdy, Todd. Howdy, Phil Adams from Great Britain, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me out there. Okay, we got a new headphones, we got a new microphone, we got a new everything. Let me know if you can hear me out there. Let me know if you can hear me. Should be okay, but you never know in this crazy world of ours. So let me know if you can see and hear me okay. Obviously, we're on the spaceship. Audio is good. We're on the spaceship. We're on looking for talent. We do have jet news. We do have jet news to discuss. This headphone and microphone is a little weird. This is the over-the-ears microphone, so a little more comfortable, but just got to get used to this microphone. So hopefully this is an improvement over the last setup. You never know. It should be, but you never quite know. But we do have news about the Jets. We do have news about this channel. Did you know that this channel now is at least partially monetized, and you can join the inner circle right now if you want to support the old Frankie from Flatbush channel by clicking the join button underneath any video. And that would be a good way to show support. You can also hopefully send in super chats. So let me know if you see the super chat button. I haven't tested that one, but there should be a super chat button that you can click. So let me know if that button's there. You don't have to give a super chat, but just let me know. Let me know if the button's there. I'm not telling you to give me a super chat. I'm just saying, is the button there? Phil says, yes, the sound is better. Okay, good, because this headphone and microphone is a little more expensive, so it should be an upgrade. So that's good to know. Um, Let me know if that button is there because it really should be, but also the join button. And I know the join button works because at least one person has joined already. So that is good news. Todd is here. Phil Adams is here. We're going to talk about what's new in Jets world. Phil Adams, we got a couple of news pieces to pick up on from earlier today. So we will definitely talk about that. Tony Alexio is here. Alexio says, hopefully Spielman will end the Jets circus. Well, Spielman is definitely a positive sign. It's definitely a positive sign in many ways that we hired Rick Spielman. So if anybody missed the news, we hired Mr. Rick Spielman, and it's good news in a lot of different ways. Now, he has sort of a football advisor type of role. He's not taking over as president of the team or anything like that. But he's going to help us remake the football operations side of the house, and that's really encouraging because we needed to do that, and you start seeing some of the moves already. So we let some people go, and we're going to bring new people in, and this is what we were talking about all this time. If you remember, Tony, on this channel and elsewhere, we've been talking about, are there going to be wholesale changes of all the, you might call it the deep state of the Jets, right? All the people who stay behind, no matter who's in charge. All of these things, all these people stay the same. David Sosi and Greg Nemay and all these people, they stick around no matter who the general manager is and who the head coach is, etc. And so the question is Woody going to learn his lesson and maybe say, all right, it might be time to clean house with all those people? And by hiring Rick Spielman, that's a sign that that is what's going to happen. And per his own words, that's what he's going to be helping us to do. Now, he'll probably last 1 or 2 years and then move on, but he's basically going to help us transition into the new era of AG and Muji. We got AG and Muji. And so this is great news. So it shows that Woody can be at least flexible. He understands, we think, the fact that what he did last year and a half, no bueno. And so he's changing up his ways. So he's bringing in his own little Doge team. Yeah, the swamp being drained, right? Maybe Spielman's part of the Doge team of the Jets. Jets Doge. Everybody needs a. And instead of being DOGE, it could be DOJE, and it's the Department of Jets Efficiency. And we need to figure out who's been wasting time, who's no good, who needs to get the hell out of here, and who needs to move on to greener pastures, and who do we need to bring in here to affect the change that we all want to see. So that is very positive news, I believe, Tony. And so that's great. Todd says, new running back coach. That's part of the news. Phil Adams says, yes, the button is right there. All right, so that's awesome. And then Phil says, the swamp's being drained. Yeah. So let's get into the news. What are these news items that we're talking about over here? Oh, wait, let me get rid of this. We'll just get rid of the music thing. And let's see about sharing a screen so we can take a look at the news. Everybody wants to know. I think that's the right thing. Yeah, it should be. Yeah. All right, so let's go to x.com, where sometimes I am known as Sir Francis of Flatbush, PhD. Even though I do not have a PhD, it's sort of a joke. I'm also not a Francis, but you'd never know it because that's what I'm calling myself for the time being, because we want to have a little fun around here. Aaron Wilson announced about 4 hours ago. The Jets signed former Texans and Broncos fullback and tight end Andrew Beck to a 1-year contract. We later found out it's a futures deal, so it's not a guaranteed contract. And I said, the first Mooj Splooge of the AG era is a blocker. We got a blocker over here. And this is the first Mooj Splooge. So every time we make a move now, we're going to call it a Mooj Splooge. And Mooj's getting sploogy. And we got ourselves a blocker, and his name is Andrew Beck. And you may not know who Andrew Beck is, but this is who he is right here. He played at Texas. He been with the Patriots. He been with the Broncos. This is probably why we got him, because Mooj knew him from the Broncos days. And he been with the Texans and the Packers, and then the Texans as on the P squad. So he's sort of a fringe roster guy, and if you look at it, he hasn't played that much since 2019. Here's his grades from PFF. He's sort of been below average to below average kind of a guy, but this is just a guy on the P squad. Remember, we signed him to a futures deal, not a regular 1-year deal as was originally reported. A futures deal is just a P squad player. But you can see in 2023 was the most snaps he'd ever gotten, 345. This is a fullback / tight end type who also plays on special teams. All right. And so, I think this is just a fringe roster guy, and we picked him up, and, it's not that big of a deal. But the first pickup is going to be a blocker, and I think that tells you kind of where we're standing. So that's Andrew Beck, not that big of Testing, testing. Now it should work. But there's no reason why this happened that I can tell. Default. Yeah, now it seems to be working. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat. But it seemed to stop working for no apparent reason. Testing, 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 testing. Unleash your audio package. Testing, 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 testing. Testing, testing. Let me know if you can hear me. Testing, testing. Can you can hear you? Okay. So I don't know why that happened. That made no sense at all. There were no settings that changed whatsoever. Yeah, Swamp Ranger. This is what I thought. I was like, that's a pretty good salary. Hey, man, but these coaches are making good money these days. All right, so let's continue. Sorry about that. I don't know why it happened. Nothing changed, but just it wasn't taking the audio input, even though there was absolutely nothing that changed. So I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. All right, so let's keep going then. So the Jets will owe Minnesota $62,500, and I was going to make a joke just as the audio broke that so that $62,000 that the Jets have to pay Minnesota, that's like 5 cents for Woody Johnson. Haha. So who is this guy really? Here's his coaching experience. So no NFL coaching experience. Northern Illinois running backs, run game coordinator, special teams. So he does have some special teams coordinator. Uh, Youngstown State. Youngstown State again. South Dakota State for 3 years. So this guy's been special teams and running backs. Then he was at Benedict College, running back, slot receivers, and strength and conditioning. So a little bit different. But this is a young coach, obviously. So our staff is becoming a mix of youngsters and old heads. And here for the running back coach, which really is not that big of a staff position, the O-line offensive line coach is much more important than the running back coach. But here we went for the young guy. So basically, um, that's really all we know about this guy. I mean, he doesn't have a Wikipedia page. Just a young coach. Nobody's really saying anything about him on social media from our intrepid beat reporters. Some of them are down at the Super Bowl getting drunk and getting their contacts up, so they could have more contacts to write libelous stories and so forth and so on. So um, so nobody's really reporting on this except for those two guys from the college world. And this story right here, written by this guy, Ryan Burns. So basically, people from the University of Minnesota side, Gopher Illustrated, the Minnesota Gophers, uh, they're on it. But no one from the New York Jets side is really on it. So um, we're going to have to believe that this is the case. The Jets also did not announce this, so we don't have it officially from the Jets, but this is what we got. Young coach. Hopefully he'll be good. Got to trust in a G. So that's what we know about the running back coach right there. Oops. That's what we know about the running back coach right there. So yeah, that's what we got. Tony Alexio says, "What about Nick Mangold?" Well, I don't think Nick Mangold wants to coach, as far as we know. Not everybody wants to coach now. Nick Mangold has a lot of business activities going on, uh, and so he may be happy doing what he's doing. And so, Yeah, it is Super Bowl week, of course, and so a lot of the beat writers are probably taking their vacations or, taking time off, uh, because when are they going to do that? Uh, Things are going to get hot and heavy with the draft and all of that coming up. So we'll have to see. Um, so nothing really breaking at the moment. And I wanted to see if the Jets would confirm this hire, but they have not done so as of right now. Everybody talking about Josh Allen, the MVP. How about Josh Allen stealing the award from Lamar Jackson? Bastard. Josh Allen is your MVP, everybody. If you missed the news, so Josh Allen wins his first MVP award, even though Lamar Jackson kind of had a better season. I think it's pretty clear. I would have voted for Lamar Jackson myself, but Josh Allen is now your MVP. That's the way it is. So that's all we really know about the running back coach, uh, as far as we know. Yeah. So now, one of the things that we talked about was New Orleans. If you remember, if you remember, New Orleans played a big role in our season. How could that be? How could that be, Frankie? You might be asking. Well, if you remember, we were 2-1 on this season, and we were beating the Denver Broncos 6-0. Remember that? At halftime. And at that moment in time, at that precise moment in time, I left my post, which is right here in front of the computer screen, and I had to go where? I had to go to New Orleans, uh, which I didn't want to do, but I had to do for work purposes. And from that moment, from the time I traveled to New Orleans, our entire season fell apart. And so now they have the Super Bowl at New Orleans. And I got to tell you something. Um, New Orleans is not a nice place. And so here we have the story, the battle for the Super Bowl. Can New Orleans still host the big game? Uh, and they're falling apart. New Orleans is fighting to keep its Super Bowl spot as new high-tech stadiums pop up. But of course, we don't get a new high-tech stadium. If you haven't heard, and you probably have, Sunday's Super Bowl will be this city's record-tying 11th down in New Orleans. Now, as I said, I went to New Orleans. There's homeless people all over the place. It stinks. It's disgusting. People puking all over the place, smoking weed. You name it, they're doing it. It's gross and disgusting. But people rave about the walkable downtown. Uh, oops, how did that happen? Walkable downtown food and party scene. It's gross. And how the $550 million renovation of Caesars Superdome has brought the 49-year-old venue up to the big game standards. Yeah, Phil Adams. Yeah, that's right. Phil remembers. I went to New Orleans and everything after that fell apart. And I think that's what happens when you abandon your post. You should never abandon your post. For a military person to abandon their post is a big, big no-no. You're not supposed to be doing that. And that's what happened. And it was going to New Orleans, and that place is a piece of garbage, and everything fell apart. Uh, Todd says, for the Super Bowl, I'm making garlic dry rub chicken wings, and I have to make a lot, probably 25 dozen. Whole family get together. Well, good luck with that, Todd. Sounds like a big task. Ohio Jets fans, I said I love New Orleans. Yeah, and some people do. You know, if you're a party animal, you know, you like to get drunk all the time and just and just wobble around the city outside. Yeah, it can be okay. I mean, there's things to do, and if you're big into drugs and drinking, you can you can do them all. But here, the interesting thing is this is an old city. Everything falling apart. Through the first 36 Super Bowls, 9 were in New Orleans, 1 in 4. Of the next 23, New Orleans has had just 2. And now Las Vegas and Los Angeles threaten to scoop up the Super Bowls the way New Orleans once did, as does the new Nashville Stadium and potentially one in Washington, D.C. This little pen thing isn't working properly, which is annoying because one of my favorite things to do is to write on the screen. Hey, technology. I wish I could get this stupid thing to stop. Um, that's not to mention regulars Phoenix, Miami, Santa Clara, Los Angeles, and also more hotels are needed. Hotel rates are through the roof in New Orleans, which has a quarter of the hotel inventory as Las Vegas. On Location, the hospitality provider for the NFL, On Location, this is a company, ran out of space in New Orleans and placed some customers in Biloxi. Some people are an hour away in Biloxi. Is this a good city or no for the Super Bowl? Let's put people in Biloxi. Biloxi. And it says hotel inventory is so incredibly scarce, says the On Location general manager. She views the slim hotel space as a sign that New Orleans or it's just too many people for the Super Bowl. Doesn't mean it's a coveted travel destination. It means there's not enough people for Super Bowl, Mardi Gras, the French Quarter. Yeah, people like to go there, I guess. A lot of people like to get drunk. It's a great market, the food, entertainment, and culture. But the expectations for the Super Bowl cities are changing, and New Orleans has a lot of dated building stock. I would agree with that. Evidenced by rundown areas adjacent to the Superdome. Yep. And there's not a lot of construction going on. It likely needs to upgrade its hotels and add more if it plans to stay competitive. Take Atlanta, which will host the Super Bowl in 2028, where thousands of hotel rooms are currently going up. There you go, in a city that already had a healthy supply. So we got more of the hotel rooms. I think we got 20,000 hotel rooms, and then Centennial Yards, said Falcons president Greg Beatles. That's going to be that is annoying, $5 to $6 million project. So there you go, more hotel rooms. Are renovations enough? Superdome GM points to the $550 million renovation. Yeah, but the stadium's 50 years old. Once it gets past 30, you got to get a new one. Which added escalators, elevators, wider concourses, electrical upgrades, and new cooling system, as evidence that the venue is big game ready. However, there's still at least one eyesore. The press center for Super Bowl opening night was in an old attached parking garage with porta potties and a non-working portable sink. It's non-working. In other words, it stinks. It's a sink that stinks. So they're having trouble keeping up with this. Maybe great food, culture, and character will bring enough to bring the Super Bowl back. But at the very least, it could be a long wait. Now, we're not going to get a Super Bowl, at MetLife Stadium. I tell you that much, because it doesn't meet any of these things you need, including a dome. It's too cold, and they don't want it at a cold weather site. So there you go. We got all of this going on. And meanwhile, we can't even get an updated stadium where we are. And you'd think they'd want a dome, because then at least maybe you could get a Super Bowl once in a while. Uh, hey, that's how to stop it. But we were too dumb to put a dome on where we are, so you know, we get what we get. So yeah, it's definitely below sea level. Another reason not to ever go there for sure. Absolutely. And so we'll see. But I think Los Angeles, Atlanta, Vegas is going to be very popular because they're used to having all these tourists. They have all the hotel inventory that you want. You got that amazing stadium, which is a dome, and it's a warm weather place that people want to go to and fly to and hang out anyways. So it seems to me Vegas is going to be a perennial contender to get this game on track. So we'll have to see about that. But yeah, New Orleans probably not going to get awarded many in the future. We'll have to see about that. Make this thing go away. Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind for the old Super Bowl. Pretty much, I think at this point, everything, all of the crazy media stuff is pretty much over. Here's some breaking news as of a minute ago. Raiders senior DPP, something with player personnel, JoJo Wooden, one of former GM Tom Telesco's top lieutenants, will not return for the 2025 season as new GM John Spytek continues retooling the team's front office. A seasoned evaluator, Wooden started in 1997 with the Jets and spent a decade plus with the Chargers. So that's someone that maybe we could pick up for our staff. Good old JoJo Wooden. Well, we don't have to renew our lease. It just rolls over, I'm pretty sure. And if we're going to move out, we would need to have started planning for that. You don't just, it's not like, it's not like me. Like I'm getting a new apartment. I'm going to be moving into a new apartment. This is my first apartment here in Florida, right? So I'm like, I could do an upgrade. And basically today I spent a whole day, figuring it out, doing this, signing paperwork, this, that, and the other thing. And uh, uh, I didn't have to do too much planning for me to get a new apartment, right? But for the for the Jets, if they're going to go play somewhere else, it's like 5 or 6 or 7 years of planning. They'd have to plan out where they're going to go play. You can't play in the PS207 schoolyard. So we haven't heard. We're going to stay at MetLife. We're not going anywhere. As far as I can tell, I haven't heard peep one about moving out of MetLife. And so they're not moving anywhere. Land on the river. I don't know I don't know what Woody owns on the river, but we haven't heard peep one about moving out of that stadium, and I don't think we're moving, as far as I know. Adirondack Fly Guy says, hello, AFG, good to see you. But I haven't heard anything about Johnson and what land he owns. How can I find out about this, Ohio Jets fan? Like, can I do a search? Let's see what we can find out. As far as I know, uh, let's see. What land does the Woody Johnson family own? Let's see what AI can tell us about Woody Johnson, his family. So the answer is Woody Johnson and his family own several properties. One, a property in Bedminster Township, New Jersey. Two, a home in Florida. Three, until 2022, the family owned an 800-acre farm near Princeton, New Jersey, which they donated to the DNR Greenway Land Trust. Okay, the donated 800-acre farm, known as Hillsdale Farm, was assembled over 4 decades by Betty Wold Johnson, Woody Johnson's mother. This property consists of forests, meadows, agricultural land, and streams, including a tributary of the Stony Brook. It is located in Mercer County, with most of the land in Hopewell Township and a smaller portion in Hopewell Borough. Previously, Woody Johnson owned a luxurious duplex apartment in Manhattan, which he sold in 2014 for $80 million. $80 million. He sold an apartment for $80 million. Oh my goodness. One apartment, $80 million. It's worth noting that the Johnson family, associated with Johnson & Johnson, has owned other significant properties. For instance, a 373-acre estate with 18,000 square foot manor owned by the Johnson & Johnson family was listed for sale at $12.995 million. So according to this, which we don't know if it's 100% accurate, but there doesn't seem to be anything on the river, Ohio Jets fan, as far as we know, on any kind of river, whatever river you're talking about. I assume the Hudson River, but according to this, that's what they own. But who knows? It could be other things. AI doesn't know everything. So Phil says, is Woody worth enough money to do a project that big? And then I think he is. I think he is. I mean, he made 80 million on an apartment sale. I mean, 80 million, 80 million. Can you imagine what that apartment looks like? 80 million in 10 years ago. 80 million. The West Side Stadium, yeah, it was a proposed football Olympic stadium. Right, it was proposed, but does he own the land? Because that never came to be. So that got scuttled, so I don't know if he owns the land or not. According to this, it doesn't say. So if he does, we would need some corroboration or a source of that information so we would know. But nonetheless, even if you own the land, so he owns, he owned this farm, he owned a duplex in Manhattan. The Johnson & Johnson company, it says, owns significant other properties, but that's probably not able to be used for this. It says a 373-acre estate with an 18,000 square foot manor, M-A-N-O-R, a manor, owned by the Johnson & Johnson family and was listed for sale for $13 million. Doesn't say. And that was in Forbes magazine, but it doesn't say they sold it. The duplex apartment, that's referenced by some publication called Beacon Moment. And then about the farm, there's two sources of information. One is the Inquirer, one is the Dr. D&R Greenway. Oh, that's the trust that received the land from Woody Johnson. So that seems like they were saying we received this gift from the Johnson family. So it doesn't say he owns that land, but he might. I don't know. If he does, what is he doing with it? What's on that land now, anyways? What's on this west side land now where that stadium was supposed to go? Let's take a look at, for people who don't know, it's kind of fun to look back at what could have been. West Side, the old West Side Stadium. Here it is. Can we pop this up? Oh yeah, here it is. Check this out. So this is what Ohio Jet fans talking about. This is what we could have had. We could have had this. We could have had it. Ready? Ready? We could have had this. Can you imagine? This is what Woody wanted to build, really. And it got scuttled by, basically by James Dolan, essentially, who didn't want the competition for Madison Square. But look at this thing. This is an artist rendering, of course, but I mean, this is a beautiful, look at this beautiful thing. It could have been amazing. Imagine we had this as opposed to MetLife. Can you imagine? We almost had it. They took it away from us. James Dolan, that bastard. He didn't want the competition. But the question is, who owns this land now? Because this stadium didn't go up here. And I don't know if the Johnsons own it or not. Ohio Jets fan. I don't know. There's no way to know. Perplexity didn't. Perplexity is the AI that I asked, and it didn't come up with this. But this was the rendering right here. Imagine this thing. Imagine this damn thing. This is what we could have had. This is what was taken away from us. We could have had it. But nonetheless, if Woody wants to do a big project, he could always partner with people, and he could always partner with private equity, and he could always partner with minority partners, like what is happening with Las Vegas and Tom Brady and all that. There's Tom Brady, and there's other partners that came in. So all these things that the Raiders are doing. So I don't know if you guys saw the news earlier this week, but the Raiders hired Chip Kelly away from Ohio State, and they did so by offering him $6 million, $6 million salary, uh, annual salary, which is very high for an offensive coordinator. And the reason they were able to do that is because Mark Davis got an infusion of cash from Brady and other investors who are now minority partners in the Raiders. And so this is something we've been talking about on this channel for Woody Johnson to do things like this, or pay coaches salaries like the Raiders are doing now, or or whatever. When you have cash, you can use it however you want. There's no salary cap on coaches' salaries, for example. And so the question was, would Woody be open to that? And so far, the answer has been no, because he hasn't taken on any partners, private equity or otherwise. Well, the problem with Johnson and Johnson is that Woody Johnson is not involved with Johnson and Johnson anymore. So whatever Johnson and Johnson's doing with their COVID vaccines and everything else, Woody's not involved with that. Woody has the Johnson Company, not very creative, uh, and he has MetLife Stadium that he owns half of, and he has, I guess, various other investments like this farm that he had to give up or whatever, or that he chose to sell, and other properties he owns, and he probably has other things, but he's not, as far as we know, involved with Johnson and Johnson. But he's mostly a hedge fund manager with something called the Johnson Company, and it's a private company, so you can't get any information about it. Yeah, this is what we've been proposing, Phil, and but you would have to need to have a grand vision for it, and you'd have to partner up with all the right people. Like for example, why doesn't he partner up with the Mets owner? What's his name? Steve Cohen, right? The Mets are already there, right? Queens is where we should be. It's where the Mets are. We got the tennis complex over there. Um, so why not do a joint venture with Steve Cohen, who's also extremely rich? Yeah, Steve Cohen's loaded, and so's Woody. I mean, these guys are mega, but still, for these projects, even if you want to have a strategic partner in Steve Cohen and say, how do we do this? Let's leverage Steve Cohen's expertise or knowledge or what have you. And maybe it needs to be a joint partnership because it's going to involve the Mets, and the Jets or whatever. But the Mets and the Jets should be linked together in some sort of fashion. It makes sense to do a joint venture with them. It's like, let's have a sports complex. Some Mets. Let's have Mets stores and Jets stores. Like for example, in Pittsburgh, you got the 412 stores. You ever see those? Like, you ever see people wearing the 412? That's like a Steelers. That's like a sports Pittsburgh sports store where it's all the Pittsburgh team colors, which are all, by the way, black and yellow for some reason. And they sell Steelers stuff and Bruins stuff, and uh, the hockey team, whatever they're called, the Pittsburgh. What's the Pittsburgh hockey team? I forget. But then you got the Pirates, right? And all the and it's all branded together. It's all the sports stuff. Well, the Jets and the Mets should do the same thing. I mean, but you need to have somebody with that kind of a vision and what that would entail, and also the political sway that you need, because you got to work with all the local politicians and all that dirty business, which is something that Woody Johnson should be getting better at. If he's going to be dabbling in politics like he does, why isn't he getting better at political maneuvering? You got to talk to all the local politicians. You got to get them on board. Yeah, the Pittsburgh Penguins, right?
and you got to get them on board, and then you got to talk to the mayor of New York City, and then you got to get the governor, and all these people, and that's called politics. And you'd think that Woody would be getting better with that, but he doesn't seem to be, as far as we know. Now maybe he's just super happy with JetLife Stadium. I, you know, there's no indication, and also there's the Giants over there. And there's no indication from the Mara family or the Tisch family or the Johnsons that anybody's unhappy with JetLife Stadium. I haven't heard a peep from anybody from the Giants or the Jets. Maybe you guys have heard something that I haven't. Let me know. But have you heard anything from the Tisch family or the Mara family or the Johnson family of being unhappy with MetLife Stadium in any way, shape, or form? Usually, when these things come around, you start to hear things about it. So that, like, for example, Cleveland right now, there's a battle going on in Cleveland where the owners of the team want to move to, I think it's called Brook Park or Brooklyn Park or something, which is like 15 minutes outside of Cleveland, right? But it's not in Cleveland, technically, but it's like 15 minutes away. And they want to move there. And the politicians are giving them hell and saying, no, you can't do that. And they actually have something called um, who's the owner who moved the team? What was his name? Art Modell, right? Modell's. So Art Modell, right? They have something called the Modell Law, where you can't move the team under certain circumstances. There's got to be, you're not basically not allowed to move them out of that stadium. And there's all these, hoops you got to jump through if you want to do it, which are not, you can't really do it. And they're trying to say, well, look, we'll build this new, we'll build this new, uh, we'll build this new stadium at Brook Park. It's 15 minutes away, and it's not a problem. It's awesome. It's going to be so much better. It's going to be brand new and blah 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 blah. But the politicians are saying no. You're not taking it anywhere. You're staying right here within the city limits. And that's the point. Is like you have to deal with these political creatures. The lawmakers want to have a say in all this stuff. So that's the issue. And I have not heard peep one out of anybody associated with MetLife that owns MetLife. I mean, obviously the fans hate it, but the owners seem to love it. So I don't think they're moving. But this is what we could have had right here. Paulie's here. Good to see Paulie. Ohio Jets fan, he's super happy with raising PSL to bring in the money. Well, that's the business side, Ohio Jet fan. That's the business side. That's Jaime and them. And apparently Jaime and them are doing a good job with the business side. And because if you raise prices, that means demand is high. So people don't like it, but if people weren't buying them, they couldn't raise the prices. Indy Jets is here. Good to see you, Indy. Hope all is well with you. Ohio says, to be honest, the stadium right now is a pain in the butt to get in and out. Sure. But from the business side, things are going great. Again, if the stadium was half empty, if nobody renewed their tickets, for example, if people bought tickets, what I said is if you want to have a real protest, then you buy the ticket for the game. You have fun in the morning with your tailgating, and then you don't go in the stadium and don't watch because that way the stadium's empty and it looks terrible for Woody Johnson, right? As opposed to, I'm not going to buy tickets. Okay, well, if the Jet fans don't buy the tickets, guess who is? The opposing team's fans will buy up the tickets, and they'll be in the stadium. And they'll be buying the beers and the hot dogs and everything else, right? So, but most fans are not going to do that. Fans are not going to get organized and do that. But that would be a way to do it. But again, from the business standpoint, people are still going there. They're still buying tickets. They're still buying their PSLs and everything else. They're still buying, you have to assume, because, all of this house cleaning we did, it did not include Jaime, right? Jaime's still here. And Jaime's on the business side. So the business side must be looking pretty good to old Woody. he's looking at his spreadsheets going, this is looking pretty good, you know? So you may not like it. It's a pain in the butt. There's problems. Fine, but you're still going. If not you, then somebody else is still going, right? So that's the issue. And the problem with this stadium that we're looking at here, this rendering here, was that Woody didn't have the political, what do you want to call it? The political smarts to get this done, to outmaneuver James Dolan. Say what you want about James Dolan, but he had the political wherewithal to kill this thing. And Woody did not. Woody could not. Woody lost that one. He lost it. So yeah, there you go. But we really don't know, as far as I know, we don't really know if he owns this land here or not, or if he was just going to buy it. And then when the deal went through, he said, oh, well, I can't buy it now. There's no reason to buy it. I'm not going to put a stadium there. But it would have been nice. Would have been nice. Would have been hard to get to. That's for sure. Public transportation options would have had to be increased significantly, I would say. But, you know, that's the way it is with any stadium. It's hard to make it work. There's a lot of people going in and out, no matter where you put it. Either you put it in the city in the city limits, and then it's congestion, or you put it way out, and then people got to drive way out. I mean, you know. But that's why the Queens location makes the most sense. It's already got all the public transportation is pretty much there anyway because of the old Shea Stadium and Citi Field now and all that, and all the tennis, the tennis complex that's over there and all that. So you already kind of have it there. It's just a matter of figuring out how to do it. And I just don't know if Woody's really incentivized to do it. I'm not seeing it. So Indy Jets is here. He goes, physical and speech therapy going good. All right. Well, we like to hear that because for those who don't know, Indy Jets is on the fan injured list right now. He's on the fan injured list and he's making his way back. So it's good to hear that the therapy's going good. Indy Jets, you gotta stay on that therapy. Okay, you gotta stay on the grind because we need you back in action. It's going to be a big season this year, one way or another. And we can't have you on the fan injured list. We got to get you back in action. And the only way to do it is through the therapy, which is a grind. Trust me, I know. I broke my leg on an airborne operation, and that physical therapy is rough. Rough, rough, rough. Man, is it rough. Because it's boring. Yeah, fan injured reserve list. We got to get Indy Jets back in the game, back in the fan game. As quickly as possible. And only way to do that is staying on your therapy. Now, it is Super Bowl week. It is Super Bowl week. And one thing I wanted to mention is the difference between exchanges and sports books. So you hear a lot about sports books and betting. Some of you may even do some betting and such. And when you bet with something like BetUS or DraftKings, any of these things, you're betting against the house. You're betting against the sports book. And there's an old saying in betting and gambling called the house always wins. So you may get a few small wins here and there, but over the long haul, the house always wins. Well, what if there was an exchange where there is no house? Like what? Well, for example, what about something like this? What about something like Kalshi? So you can see here, you can bet on who's going to win the football game. Kansas City versus Philadelphia football. But when you place a bet here, you're betting against someone else. So if you say, I'm going to bet for Kansas City on a yes, that means somebody else is picking Philadelphia or picking Kansas City no, depending which way you look at it. And the odds are based on how many contracts are involved in this wager, in this particular bet. So, in other words, there is no house here. Kalshi is just an exchange. They don't have anything, they don't care who wins because you're not betting against them. You're just betting against some other schmuck who wants to take the other side of your bet. And so I think as this becomes more and more of a popular thing, I think you could see more and more people using something like Kalshi as opposed to the books. And because this is an exchange, it's much less involved in terms of KYC stuff. And so I thought I'd mention that for some people who maybe want to bet on a game, but maybe don't like to use the sports books like BetUS or DraftKings or anything like that. Here's an alternative, Kalshi.com. So you may want to check that out. Again, it's an exchange. It's not a sports book. So it's not the house. So you probably have a better chance to win over the long term using something like an exchange as opposed to the house. Yeah. Yeah. Well, now I don't gamble much, I must say. But if you are going to gamble, doesn't it make sense not to gamble against the house because the house always wins? You know, why not use an exchange where you're gambling against, where you're betting against some other schnook who wants the other side of the bet? I want Kansas City, you want Philadelphia. Okay, let's have a contract and do it that way. And that way, the house, Kalshi just takes their little fee, whatever it is, and whoever, they don't care who wins. They're taking a fee no matter what. It's not in their interest, one way or the other, who wins at all. But yeah, you're right, Ohio. Probably not a good idea to do betting. But if you're gonna, you might want to check out Kalshi as opposed to one of the sports books, especially since you know it's one of the most heavily gambled days coming up on Sunday, um, which is of course the Super Bowl. They're a little bit limited here on Kalshi as far as sports goes right now. They're just getting into sports. They have other exchanges like who's going to win elections and things of that nature. But now they're starting to get into sports. So that is a new development. So I thought I'd bring it up. Well, we got to Bill Adams says, I met the girl who owns our local betting company here in Stratfordshire. She took home 500 billion. What? That's a huge, yes, the house wins. Yeah. Why play against the house? The house always wins. You might as well just play against some other schnook where the house takes their little fee and that's it. It doesn't matter who wins for them. They're not incentivizing you to do this, that, or the other thing because they don't care what you do. Whereas when you have a house, they do care what you do. They want you to keep betting and keep losing to them. Ohio says, who do you want to win? Well, we got to root for the Eagles, right? I think this Kansas Swiftie Chiefs, man, we got to put a stop to this. The Swifties are running the NFL, and we got to put a stop to it. Hopefully, the Eagles can just blow them out where it's not close and the refs can't give it to the Swifties. But we got to stop with these Swifties. You know, this Kansas Swiftie Chiefs thing is not good for sports. You know, there's a lot of money on the line, which is why it makes it so. You know, the NFL, like Roger Goodell had to come out this week, and the head of the refs union had to come out this week and say these whole conspiracy theories about the Chiefs are ridiculous. Well, the fact that they're talking about it tells you it's real. Like the fact that you already had to come out and talk about this in the public and make statements means you lost the issue. People think it's real. And because it's not a grand conspiracy theory, it's very easy for the officials to throw a game, with a holding call here, a DPI there. It doesn't take a whole lot. You're not you're not making 7,000 calls in a game to give it to the Chiefs. It's just a key hold here or a not hold, and holding happens on every play, or a DPI here or a not DPI there. It's very simple. And if the Chiefs winning is going to increase the revenues for everybody because of the Swifty economy, if you know anything about the Swifty economy, Swifties move economies. They're a huge, massive block of people that the NFL would have no access to ever, but for Taylor Swift dating Travis Kelce. So you think the NFL is going to just turn their back on that entire group of people, which is a massive, massive number of people, that they would have no access to in any other way? The Swiftie fans, Taylor Swift fans, who are very loyal and a massive number and will do whatever she is involved with, they'll support it. The NFL would have no access to those people ever under any other circumstances. Those people would have no interest in the NFL whatsoever. They're buying jerseys, they're watching games, they're buying merchandise, they're showing up to games, they're paying attention to the NFL in ways that they never ever would. The NFL is making millions and millions off of them. And you really think in a game where holding happens on every play and you could call it or not call it, and anybody could look at it and go, well, yeah, it's a good call. You really think the NFL is going to turn their back on millions and billions of dollars just for competitive fairness? Are you out of your mind? So there's a problem. It's called a moral hazard. This is in the real world of risk called a moral hazard, right? The NFL has a moral hazard here. There's millions and millions and perhaps even billions of dollars on the line with these Swifties. And if the Chiefs didn't make the playoffs, or if the Chiefs lost in round one of the playoffs or something, if they lost that game to the Texans, say, then all those Swifties go away. All those millions and millions of dollars just walk out the door, because all those people who are Swifties now do not care about football at all, because the only reason they care is because of Travis Kelce and the Chiefs. So what are you going to do if you're the NFL? Are you gonna say no, no thanks, millions of dollars? No, we have something called competitive fairness. Um, And not to mention, the refs also get paid by the NFL, and their salaries, are in accordance with a collective bargaining agreement that they sign with the league. And if there's more money available, guess whose salaries go up? The referees. So it's in their best interest. It's in all the players' interests. If you think about it, the players all make a percentage of the revenues as a union. If you think about them as a union, right? They make a percentage of the revenue. So if revenues go up, it's good for them. And that's the way it is. I can't date Taylor Swift. Are you crazy, Phil Adams? Taylor Swift is the most famous woman in the world, probably, right? One of them. Maybe I got a shot with Lana Del Rey. This is what I was thinking, Phil. Listen, Aaron Rodgers needs to date Lana Del Rey, right? That's the only way we got a shot. Now, Lana Del Rey is not the same as Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift has a fan base that is unbelievable. Like they move economies of countries when she goes on tour and stuff like that. And Lana Del Rey is a very popular artist, and she has a big fan base too, but it's not the same, not nearly the same. The Swifties are a real thing. And the fact that she's dating Travis Kelce, I mean, yeah, it's like a match made in heaven for the NFL to get the subscribers up. Yeah, we got to do something to get these subscribers up. These numbers they're rookie numbers. We got to get these subscribers. But hopefully I'll be able to do some more content. Now that I got this apartment thing mostly squared away today, hopefully I'll come out with some new content maybe this weekend or next week. Get those subscriber numbers up. If I was dating Taylor Swift, I would still come on with you guys. Why not? Yeah, exactly. Phil has it right. And maybe, we would put Taylor on with us. You know what I mean? And maybe we could get our technology up to where the video's not flickering. We could really upgrade the equipment because I mean, talk about someone who's rich. I mean, Jesus Christ. I think she's the first billionaire with a B, female artist billionaire, something like that. I mean, then we could really upgrade our equipment. We wouldn't need flickering video, and microphones that go in and out. And Indy Jets is saying it doesn't show how many are liking your videos. Well, I don't even know what's going on with that, Indy Jets. So maybe we could hire somebody to figure out what's going on with my channel. I have no idea. But one thing's for sure, we would have the best of everything. We wouldn't need this stupid laptop that keeps breaking and microphone that doesn't work, goes in and out. Yeah, we would have the best of everything because she got money. But you know, we probably need to work our way up. We probably need to go Ariana Grande first, then Lana Del Rey, and then if you're dating Lana Del Rey, Taylor Swift might get a little jealous. She might get a little jelly, and then you got to work your way up. But Travis Kelce's already rich and famous, so he had an advantage. A guy with 580 subscribers on YouTube really got no shot. Travis Kelce's rich and famous. You know, Meanwhile, I'm trying to just get an apartment upgrade in Florida. That's not going to cut it with Miss Swift. But nonetheless, that's the problem. There's a moral hazard with this Taylor Swift thing. So I think we got to be rooting for the Philadelphia Eagles to put a stop to it. We got to put a stop to it. I mean, if there's some controversial calls on Sunday, man, people are going to go crazy. People are going to go crazy. That's just the way that it is. All right. Well, this video is flickering in and out. The audio was a problem earlier, so technical difficulties continue with these things. Boy, this is really strange. That's a little better. Stranger things have happened. Yeah, the spaceship is holding up. Yeah, we're going to Mars. We're going to the Mars Football League, the MFL. And we're looking for talent. We got to find the next quarterback who can beat Patrick Mahomes. And he probably be on Mars because I don't think anybody on Earth can do it. So we got to go to the MFL. We got to go to the Martian Football League. We might even have to go all the way to Uranus. Stranger things have happened, but also that you have to understand human nature. Like first, I would need to have how do I get the status? You can't just start from here. That's why I was saying like work your way up. Like if I was dating, let's say Lana Del Rey, if I had worked my way up to her, okay, now I have status. And then Swifty's looking at me like, okay, there's a maybe. But you can't just be down here. Like, with these ladies, these high profile ladies, you got to get the status up. You got to get your stats up and you got to get your status up. That's how it works. And you got to get your fitness up. You got to get your money up. You got to get your fitness up. You can't be staggering around with a beer gut. You know what I mean? You got to be fit. You got to be physically fit for these ladies. Think they're going to accept a beer gut Jones? No, they're not. They're not taking that. No, they don't have to. They can pick whoever they want in the whole world. Why are they going to pick you? You got to get your money up. You got to get your fitness up. You got to get your status up. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. Here's this is interesting, Indy. So Jake asked me to be on the show a couple weeks ago, but I was in the middle of recording the Hemingway audiobook. So you guys know I do audiobooks also. There's a new Hemingway out that I did called Men Without Women. 14 stories. But anyway, I was in the middle of recording that audio book, and it was a pretty intense effort. So I told Jake I couldn't be on the show at that time. So now he's down in the Super Bowl. So we'll see if he comes back. I told him in a few weeks, I'll be done with this project, and I'm pretty much done with it now. It's out on the market. So, but you're up there recording to the background. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but that's just a fake background, Ohio. Like, you can only pretend so much. I'm not really in a spaceship. uh, what do you think Glenn will say to Roger? So my thing about this is, I think reading the tea leaves, I think Glenn is open to Rogers coming back, but it's going to have to be with a lot of conditions. This is what I think. And I think you heard him laying the groundwork where it's about the team, the team, the team. So I think he's going to tell Rogers, look, we're not going to cater to you anymore, but the previous regime, they catered to you. They put you on a pedestal, and that led to a poor team dynamics. And I think Rogers is going to say to that part of it, I think Rogers will say, good, I didn't ask them to do that. They just did it stupidly. And I think he'd be okay with it. Then I think he's going to say, you're going to have to take a pay cut. You're going to have to help us with the cap. You're going to have to I think he'll also ask him not to be on McAfee, and that might be a stretch because Rogers might be like, hey, man, I gotta say what I gotta say, man. He might not like that. But that's what I think. I could be wrong. I think he's going to tell him, no more McAfee. We're treat you just like everybody else. You're not on a pedestal anymore. And you're going to have to help us with the money. You're going to have to take a pay cut. You're going to have to help us with the cap some kind of way. And uh, and if he's willing to do it, and I think on the other side they would say also, and as an incentive, we'll keep Devontae here, we'll keep Alan Lazard here, we'll keep your boys here, those two, um, and that's the proposal. You know, that's what I think. But we'll have to see. And then if Rogers wants to do that or not, who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? Well, I think Indy, it's going to be done by the end of this month. Probably in the next 2 weeks, we're going to know. There's going to be no games because he's not going to do what he did with Green Bay because nobody wants that. Like even he knows that we need to start making plans for the season. We need to start planning for the draft. We need to start, understanding what our team composition is. And it's not only him, it's him and the three amigos, don't forget. So and I could be wrong about this, but I consider Rogers, not only Rogers, I consider him the three amigos. Uh, Rogers, Lazard, and Adams. I call them the three amigos, and I think they all go together. So I think he knows that, and so he knows we need to start planning and stuff like that. And you heard him say he doesn't think the season's over until the Super Bowl, which was him saying, well, the decision will be made after the season. He thinks the NFL season ends after the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl is Sunday, then give it a week or two, and then that puts us right before the combine. I think that's where we're going to know. The next 2 weeks, we'll have some sort of resolution of this situation one way or the other. So I think latest by the end of the month, probably within the next 2 weeks, we will know what's going on. He's not going into any retreat this year, as far as we know. He is golfing, so he did have a quote recently in the last couple of days. He's participating in the Phoenix Pro-Am or something like that. And they did catch up to him and ask him about it. And he said, I've talked to the Jets and we'll resolve it, short, in the near future. So he's playing golf. He looks happy and healthy, uh, and in good spirits. He's playing. walking around, everything looks good. He doesn't look like he's, uh, favoring anything. He looks happy and healthy. So there's that going on. And he's doing his normal golfing that he does. He loves to golf, of course, in the off season. So he's doing his normal stuff that he always does in terms of that. So, um, but I don't think he's doing a darkness retreat or an ayahuasca retreat or any other kind of retreat, at least as far as we're aware, or or traveling over to Egypt or anything like that. We'll definitely get him before free agency, Jojo. Don't worry about that. We will definitely get that. Yeah, at this point, Jojo, where I'm at. I'm just, whatever AG, I mean, this is basically AG's team. Whatever he decides, whatever the decision is, let's go. One way or another. I probably lean a little bit toward him coming back just because the other options aren't great. And I kind of it would be nice to have like an on-ramp to success. Like it would be It'd be nice if Rodgers could lead us to the playoffs next year, at least. And we sort of have an on ramp. Like while Glenn is getting everything situated and Muji's getting everything situated in the front office and everything, we have a year of success under our belts that we can then use to kind of on ramp to further success when we continue to shape the team. Uh, and depending what Rodgers does, maybe it's another year of Rodgers. I mean, that would be kind of far fetched, um, but it would just be nice to get the AG off to a nice start with a winning season that results in playoffs. Playoffs, yeah, playoffs. Phil Adams says, I think Glenn will say, I won't stand in your way if you want to go. And Brady and Carol will offer 12-month fun time in Vegas. Yeah, Vegas could be an interesting place for him to land. Could be. Uh, but Pete Carroll um, with Rodgers, I mean, Pete Carroll might want Russell Wilson back. Pete Carroll, I mean, so as soon as the coach carousel is pretty much over, we're just waiting on New Orleans, who will hire. It looks like Kellen Moore as soon as the Super Bowl is over. Then he has to get his staff in place. We got a couple more positions on our staff and so forth and so on. So the coach carousel is now pretty much over. The next couple of weeks, the next 3 weeks, basically, then the quarterback carousel begins to spin in terms of what does Minnesota do with Darnold? What does and who would sign a Darnold? And then the free agency starts, and all this quarterback carousel begins. So, for example, if Minnesota lets him go to market and Tennessee signs him, that affects the draft. If the Raiders sign him, again, that affects the draft as well, but then it affects where somebody else could go. And probably Darnold and Rodgers are probably the two this year that are the first, ones to happen. Rodgers has to make a decision, and then we have to make a decision. And if he comes back here, then we lock in Lazard and Adams, and all quarterback stuff for us goes away pretty much for this year. And obviously, anybody else who wanted to sign him, they don't get a chance. So they have to move on to their other options. And then what happens with Sam Darnold? It looks like Minnesota is going to keep talking to him. It was the news today. And so, what does that mean? Is he open to the franchise tag? I would think not. Are they going to give him a Baker Mayfield type deal? And if they do, does that mean JJ McCarthy's on the trading block? And if so, who wants to trade for JJ McCarthy? So, coaching carousel, then the quarterback carousel, then the draft, and then then we move into the season pretty much. Exactly. Jojo says exactly how I feel. Start the Glen era with a winning outcome. Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. Jojo says, looks like the Steelers are keeping Fields. Well, we don't know that, but it's definitely possible. Seems like they want to get rid of Wilson. They definitely might keep Fields. Or who did I see to the Steelers that made a lot of sense? Shoot, man. I forget it now. I mean, they could go after Darnold, for example, but oh, Kirk Cousins. What if they went after Kirk Cousins? I could see that. I could see that. He's trying to put it out there. In the recent news is that he was actually injured more than he let on during the season, and then that had something to do with his poor performance when he fell off this year. And he's going to be a year further from the Achilles to whatever degree that held him back. So what if the Steelers signed Kirk Cousins? Now, that's another guy who's going to be out there, it looks like. So who's going to be interested in Kirko Chains? That's another thing. So we'll have to see. Ohio says something is up with JJ. With JJ McCarthy, he had a knee procedure, then he had another procedure, then it came out that he has ADHD. So that was a little weird. But, we'll have to see. Minnesota's going to have some decisions to make. Just like we have decisions to make with Rodgers, Minnesota has decisions to make with Darnold. Whatever decision they make with Darnold then affects JJ McCarthy. So we'll have to see about that. Cousins with Smith. Cousins with Arthur Smith. I don't know. Would it be a disaster? Arthur Smith, I mean, he's more of a running defense. I mean, if you think about it, he wants to run first. I mean, if he had the right running back, like, are they going to re-sign Najee Harris? I think the Russell Wilson pairing with Arthur Smith was weird, but they were winning games. They did win 10 games. Then they just fell off at the end. I don't know if you wanted to run a run-heavy offense. If they re-signed Najee back and they were just going to major in running, and then you just have Kirk's role be reduced because you're not going to throw as much. Maybe that's a good role for Kirk Cousins at this point in time. I think it could be interesting. Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith's going to really have to show that he can be a good offensive coordinator without Derrick Henry, right? He was a good offensive coordinator in Tennessee when they had Derrick Henry and a really good offensive line and an average quarterback. Don't forget they had Tannehill, who wasn't that great, but they had Derrick Henry, right, in his prime. So then Arthur Smith goes over to Atlanta and doesn't go well. Then he went to Pittsburgh where he was good for a while last year, and then it kind of fell off at the end. So Arthur Smith's going to have to prove that he can be a good OC without Derrick Henry, a winning OC. And maybe he thinks Kirk Cousins could do enough to allow him to do what he wants with the running game without them stacking the box and all that, because Kirk, he believes Kirk could function at least at an average or above average level at this point in time. Yeah, I think Cousins could definitely bounce back. Could. He's saying he was injured, even though, and the reporters were getting on him because they were saying, well, we asked you, were you injured? And you basically lied to us. He called it a clerical error. He said that he was on the injury report and he called that a clerical error or something like that. And they were like, okay, that's weird. And now he's saying, oh, actually, I was actually injured. Wasn't a clerical error. So they're saying, okay, you lied to us. Uh, but is he making an excuse for his poor performance? Was he really injured? I mean, who knows? But he could definitely bounce back. I mean, I never really understood why he fell off last year. At the beginning of the year, he was looking like the old Kirk Cousins that we all that we all knew from the Minnesota days. It was like, all right, well, this is the regular old Kirk Cousins, I guess. No problems with the Achilles, it seemed like. And then And then then he started throwing interceptions like crazy. So no, it was like, what's going on here? And of course, they went with the young fella, Michael Penix. So um, we'll see. I think he could very well bounce back. I don't see why not. I mean, the guy's very robotic out there, robotic in a good way. Normally, when things are going well, and it was just weird to see him kind of malfunction. Ohio says, so do we rip off the Band-Aid with Rodgers or roll with him and deal with the cap situation down the road? Well, that's what they have to decide, Ohio. Yeah. That's exactly what Glenn and the boys are cooking up right now. That's the question at hand. And I think so. We'll see what they come up with. We don't know. But like I said earlier, I think what they're going to do is present him with some options to be here. And if he likes those options, and some of those options will be taking a pay cut and helping us with the cap and with the cash. But we're going to have cap problems down the road no matter what. But every team has some cap problems. It's not a terrible thing. But also, we got rid of David Sosi, and we're going to get some new people in here to write these contracts a little better. So that's the idea, or one of the ideas. Maybe we're not structuring these contracts properly. And that's one of the things that's exciting actually about this new administration because we got to, contract writing isn't exactly the most exciting thing in the world, but we got to do it right. It's important because of the cap. So you got to know how to manage that. Some teams, it's like the Eagles, it seems like always have money around somehow, and yet they also have a great roster where they're going to the Super Bowl. So how come they always have money and they can deal with the cap hits and they can have a roster and other teams don't. Or look what happened with the Broncos this year. The Broncos had a huge cap hit with Russell Wilson contract, and they have another one next year even. And yet, with a rookie quarterback and the right coaches, they went to the playoffs and did better than anybody expected. And you know, so that's an important part of a football team. And it was good to see that Mooj and Glenn are moving in the right direction um, of finding people who are an improvement over the people we've had. So just checking. The news is pretty slow because everybody's down in New Orleans and getting these dumb stories. This guy said this, that guy said these other things, and it's all just terrible stories. So there's not a lot of normal reporting right now. Everything's about the Super Bowl and uh, this guy stopped by to say this and that guy said this. Pretty bad in terms of news. So just checking here. Jojo says, glad to see the front office overhaul, but Jaime will stick around. Yeah. Now, here's what I'm saying about Jaime. Hopefully, with Spielman coming in and other changes, hopefully Jaime sticks to the business side. This is what we got to hope, Jojo. We got to hope that Jaime sticks to the business side. Jaime got to stick to the business side. Apparently he's doing a good job with that. I'm sure the balance sheet looks wonderful. But keep your nose out of the football operations. Jaime El Hai, we got our eye on you, Jaime. We got our eye on you, Jaime El Hai. We see you. Okay, you're doing good with your spreadsheets and your business and your revenues and your expenses and everything else. All right, fantastic. Wonderful. Great. Keep your nose of the football operations. And hopefully Muji and Spielman and whoever else we get make that very, very clear. And AG steps in and says if it's getting, a little squirrely, like you got with, AG has way more power than Salah ever did, by the way. AG's been empowered here by this hiring process from what we know and what we have seen. So AG has power now with Woody. And if Jaime gets out of line, AG's going to be like, look, put this guy back in his cage, Woody. And keep him over there on the business side. We'll make the football operation decisions here. You make the money decisions over there in terms of the business. And that's what we got to hope for, JoJo, because apparently Jaime's not going anywhere. So that's what we got to hope for. That's what we got to hope for. Phil says, who will be Glenn's locker room general? Well, this is something he's probably going to work with. Like Quinnen is a good target for that. Somebody like Garrett, when we go to Garrett and we offer him a new contract, one of the things we got to say to Garrett is, all right, we're giving you this contract. It's a lot of money, but what we expect in addition to good performance and all that is you got to step up your leadership. Like part of this deal here, giving you this contract, it's a massive contract. It's huge. We're happy to give it to you, but you got to step up your leadership. Okay. No more body language where, bad body language on the field. No more outbursts if you're not getting the ball. We need you to be a leader here. Part of this money is for leadership. We desperately need leadership on this team. We believe you can be that leader. Part of why we're giving you this money is we believe in you, and we're going to need you to be a leader, more of a leader going forward. Mentor the young kids. Watch your body language. Understand, watch your emotionality on the sidelines and things like that. And that's what we need out of you, Garrett. And I think that's what they'll do. JJ, we got to see JJ come back and play and see what he looks like. JJ is going to be a question mark until he puts up. So we see what he looks like post injury and all that. We'll see what we want to do with JJ. But Quinnen and Garrett, I think, are two people that are prime targets for that leadership role. So we'll see. Combine is when everything picks up. Yeah, exactly. So I think we got to get this quarterback situation figured out by the combine because, because we got to make decisions about what we're doing here. So I think we will. Yeah, I mean, I think what happened, Jojo, is that the ownership and then Jaime got very frustrated with what was going on with this team. Because don't forget, the business side and the football side, are fluid in a lot of ways. Like what goes on at the quarterback position affects, um, you know, the money coming in because it affects the wins, and the wins affect the money. So I think Woody and the money men got involved when they shouldn't have because of what was going on with the Rodgers situation, which they looked at as a cash cow, and we weren't winning though. It was the injury the first year, and then they got fed up with the losing this year, and it was just stupid bad things that they did, emotionally dumb. But nonetheless, that's what happened. They all freaked out. Like here was our cash cow. We thought this was going to be the deal, and then they fired Salah, and then they did a lot of bad things. But hopefully they've learned from those things. And I think that Glenn coming in had to make that part of his deal, where it's like, look, whatever you might have thought you were doing things with good intentions last year, and you were trying to salvage a season that you saw going down the drain. But obviously it didn't work, and having the money men intruding into the football side didn't work at all. It was a disaster. And so we're hoping that they've learned from that. And some of the decisions they've made so far in the offseason indicate that they have. And so that's what we're hoping for. Now, if you start hearing about, Jaime's, in the football meetings and all this, okay, that's going to be concerning. That's no doubt about it. Ohio says Woody needs to sit in the corner and learn how a team operates. Well, let's hope he has learned. You can say he needs to do this, that, or the other thing, but he's the owner. He doesn't need to do anything. He's, but I mean, he did say I mean, he did say that he needs to be a better owner. He did say that he needs to have more patience. And so we got to hope and pray that he has learned because he's not going anywhere. This is some of the conversations we have had, in the immediate aftermath of the season, where it's like, if you think Woody just is a buffoon who can't make a good decision, like one of the prominent coaching agents was quoted by Ian Rappaport in one of his reports, or no, or by Rich Samini in one of his reports, and the coach's agent, anonymous, of course, coward, said Woody Johnson is incapable of making a good decision. And if that was true, what is the point of being a Jet fan? If Woody Johnson really is incapable of making a good decision, then there's no point in being a Jet fan because he's not going anywhere. He's the one guy who's not going anywhere. So if he can't learn from his mistakes and make good decisions going forward, it's like this is a very bleak space to be. How are you going to be a Jet fan if that's true and if you think that's true? So we were watching and waiting and seeing if Woody could learn and could actually, you know, be someone who's like, okay, I did some things. I thought they were the right things at the time. Actually, they weren't. So let's try some different things. And it seems like from all the moves he's made this offseason, including the latest one with Rick Spielman now, it seems like he has learned from that experience. Let's hope so. Because otherwise it becomes very bleak very fast in terms of Jet fandom. And it's not a place I'd like to go, personally. It's not a place I'd like to go. So Phil says, even when he knew the bad coaching was ruining, yeah, and he tried. If you put it, I mean, if you want to put a positive spin on it, he was trying to fix something. Now he screwed it up. But if you put a positive spin on it, maybe his intentions were actually good because he knew something was wrong with the coaching, and so he thought firing Salah and elevating Ulbrich would fix it. He was wrong, and that was stupid. But maybe the intention was good. He had heard. I mean, think about it. He had heard from Salah and Douglas. Oh, it was all Zach Wilson's fault. Oh, let us just move on from him, and everything will be fine. And then Rodgers gets hurt, and then Rodgers this year they were still losing with Rodgers without Wilson playing, and so then he's like, well, you guys said it was Wilson. Now it's Rodgers playing, and we still stink. What's going on here? Um, so look at it from that point of view, and if you want to put a positive spin on it, you say, well, he was trying something. That something was not smart at all, but from his point of view, he was like, I gotta try something. This whole thing is going down the drain. Uh, what can we do? Okay, get rid of Salah and elevate Ulbrich. Ugh, terrible decision. But from his point of view, maybe he thought that could give the team a spark, and maybe. So maybe it was just the act of a desperate man seeing what he thought was a great situation go down the tubes, and he was trying to save it any way he could. And it obviously backfired spectacularly because of course it did. But and then so now he did that. It didn't work. So let's hope that going forward it can be different and it can be better because otherwise it's very hard to root for the team. Very hard to root for the team if you think Woody's going to always screw it up. I mean, what's the point of rooting for the Jets if you think Woody's going to always screw it up no matter what? Then what's the point of rooting for the team? Then we're become like the Washington Generals. Remember them when they played the Globetrotters? They never won because it was all scripted, right? And they had no chance to win. If Woody's going to always screw it up, then we're just the Washington Generals, and what's the point? We're just fated to lose. So JoJo says Glenn learned from Parcells and Sean Payton. Yeah, and the other thing, JoJo, he's got power now. So Glenn has power that Solid did not have. We know that by how the hiring process went. AG is the power broker here, and Muji's the sidekick. So AG has the power. Now, how he's going to leverage that power and how he interacts with people and how he's going to do the politics of an organization, we got to wait and see. But I would say he's got a better chance than Saleh because he has a better pedigree than Saleh. He has a better background than Saleh in this area for this, meaning he's been a scout. He's seen several different organizations build it up. He is a player. He was a player. That goes a long way with the players, in the league. Former player. Saleh was not. Now, it doesn't mean non-former players can't succeed, but all of those things combined for AG give him a better shot at being able to handle and navigate all of these waters because it's not easy. Think about if you guys work in an office, right? There's always office politics, right? And office politics is frustrating, annoying, headache inducing, but there are always people who are able to navigate those office politics really well, and there's other people who are not, right? Well, it's the same thing in a football team. It's the same thing, AG, but it's just more high profile, and you got a lot of money on the line. Think about all the people who, for example, want Muji's job, who are on the Jets, who are in the Jets front office. Muji's going to be making a lot of money. And you think there aren't people in the front office of the Jets who think they could be the general manager? Why didn't I get a chance why didn't I get an interview? Why don't they look at me? I could do this job. I've been here 10 years. I could do a better job than this kid from Denver. And you think they're not jealous? And you think they're not going to try to trip him up so that they can get their shot? I mean, that's office politics in a nutshell. And that exists in every football team. And then you have to be able to navigate all of that in addition to doing all of the other things that we always talk about, like picking players, coaching players, developing players, signing free agents. Should we sign Andrew Beck or not, and all this? So it's not easy. But I think AG has a shot. I think he has a shot to be better than what we've had. So let's hope so. Yeah, and hopefully no more knee-jerk reactions. That's what we don't need. I think, that's why we came up with the idea of the Legends Council, to give Woody a sounding board when he wants to do something in a knee-jerk fashion. Go to the Legends Council, fire up the computer, do a Zoom call with the Legends, and say, guys, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? Give me some counsel. And I think, and we do kind of have an informal Legends Council. Let's hope Woody uses it, or uses Rick Spielman in that way, or something like that. And that's what we got to hope for, because we need improvement from the owner position. We need improvement from the owner position. Good old boy network. Yeah, but what we need is like the Legends Council, right? Mangold, Woody, Damian Woody, Wayne Corbett, Keyshawn Johnson. Put together a big Legends Council full of as many people as you can get. Wayne Corbett, Nick Mangold, Kevin Mawai, right? Curtis Martin, Marty Lyons. Put together a big council, and it doesn't have to be a formal thing, just an informal thing where, hey, if you're available for a Zoom call, occasionally I'm going to put you on a Zoom call, which isn't a big commitment on their part. And I just want to talk through some things, get some ideas from you guys. What do you think? It's not a bad idea. And you heard from, when we hired AG, you heard from some of these people saying, and there were some things reported that they were not happy that they never get consulted on anything. Joe Namath, of course, should be on there too. And why aren't these people ever consulted? They're smart football people, just to varying degrees. They have opinions, they have thoughts. Why not use them? They're part of our history. They have some sort of level of insight, some more than others. And you might as well use them and just use them as a sounding board. I don't see why we don't do that. It seems like a great idea, and hopefully they're starting to do it because some of them did get contact. I mean, Bill Parcells can be on it too, for example. Why not? It's just a Zoom call every once in a while. It's not a big time commitment. You don't have to fly anywhere. But and just use it. I mean, hopefully they do start using it. They started putting out some images with like Kevin Mawai, happy birthday, and they put legend on it. So maybe Jets legend. So maybe they are going to do something informally like this. That would be really good to see, because I think that's an underutilized resource that we have. I really do. Altoon, yeah, Altoon's around. Wesley Walker, you know, yeah, I think we are gonna draft a lot of defensive players. Other than I think we'll draft one tackle, offensive tackle, and we might grab a tight end somewhere. But other than that, it's gonna be all defense for the most part, my opinion. Browning Nagel, yeah, the human bagel, Browning Nagel. All right, I guess we'll call it a show. Thanks for joining me. Sorry about some of the technical issues that we faced along the way. But it wouldn't be a Frankie show without some without some technical issues. I will say in breaking news fashion that we do have a join button now on this channel, so you can join the inner circle if you feel like joining for $5 a month. You can click the join button down below, and there should be some super chats going forward and super um, comments, I guess. So there's some more options for you with this channel now. So that's relatively new news in case you're interested in those things. Otherwise, just give the video a thumbs up. That would be helpful, and or subscribe if you're not subscribed. That would also be helpful as we move forward. And might be a little bit of a slowdown in content coming up the next week as I prepare for and then move into a new apartment in the same area. Not a big move, but of course, anytime you move, lots of moving pieces, lots of moving parts, lots of stuff going on, lots of money going out the door, this, that, and the other thing. So there may be a slight decrease in content, but hopefully get it back up very soon. And I will be back on Sunday. We'll do Coffee with Frankie on Sunday, 10 a.m. And then we'll be back for the Super Bowl as well. So I'll see you guys all on Sunday, 10 a.m. for Coffee with Frankie. And then the Super Bowl at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll hang out and watch the referees throw the game to the can.